This interview of our Today's Campus Innovation Interview Series is brought to you by Six Sigma Management Institute. Visit sixsigmamindpro.com to learn more about MindPro, the online Lean Six Sigma training system developed by the co-creator of Six Sigma, Dr. Michael J. Harry. Hi everybody and welcome. Time for a new interview in our Today's Campus Innovation Interview Series. My name is Kirsten Winkler. I'm the Innovation Editor of Today's Campus. And with me is Mehdi Maghsoodnia. He is the CEO of Rafter. So welcome, Mehdi, to the program.
Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you for having me.
So our next issue for both Today's Campus magazine as well as our interview series is around textbooks. So I thought who'd better to interview and talk a little bit about the innovation and disruptive elements that are, well, happening for a little time now in the textbook space than you. And so for everybody not yet maybe perfectly familiar with Rafter and what you do, basically you describe the business or Rafter as a course materials management platform. But maybe you want to tell our audience a little bit more in detail what Rafter does.
Sure. So as you know, the process of educating students is a pretty complex process. It starts with professors deciding as to what materials they want to use for their class, and that's called adoption. From adoption, then the university looks at the number of enrollments, looks at the available inventory out there of tools. It could be physical, digital, lab equipment. They have to order that inventory into the campus in a lot of cases because the online providers don't have sufficient depth of support. So if you have 100 students in a class, you might be able to find 3 or 4 copies of those online, but you need the other 97 copies. You have to bring them on board. You have to price them. You have to sell the inventory to the students, and then the class starts. That process in the U.S. is a $7 to $12 billion sort of revenue business a year. It's pretty complex. In large campuses, you're dealing with thousands of professors, somewhere between 10 to 90,000 students on campus, and lots of sort of transactions at peak that you have to handle. We are a software platform that automates the end-to-end process for campuses. So think of we come in as a modern sort of cloud-based software platform. We allow your professors to easily discover and adopt textbooks or ebooks or other course bundles and things that they want to use. We allow your university to quickly find out who sells those products and at what prices and how you can actually get the supply. We also take the whole solution to the endpoint, meaning we give you an e-commerce solution for your students, a mobile e-commerce solution for your students, and also customer support to get the transactions done. So we just take the whole complexity and pain out of the process for university to get this done so they can go focus on educating the students.
Mm-hmm. And if we look a little bit at the history of the company, I think you have, or as Rafter, you have been in the business since 2008, if I'm not completely mistaken. And before, or Rafter evolved from a company called Book Renter, and I think that's a very familiar name to many people on campus. So I also saw on the website itself that you actually also do both. So you have an on-campus, I think, still rental store, and then as you described, the cloud solution then for everybody who want to take the complete process online and also have additional analytics and the price comparison. So the platform, the Rafter platform, is actually quite rich in additional features, let's say.
Yeah, so the market, if you look at it today, there are about 20 million students in higher education in the U.S. Most of the students are actually served on campus. So about 70% of the market happens to be on campus. So we started with Book Renter, which services students online. These are students who might be remote, who are not shopping on campus. And we did such a good job that those students came back to us, and they were very happy. Their customer satisfaction rating was through the roof, and the cost saving was there. But we realized that with all of the hard work behind BookRenter, we couldn't reach two-thirds of the market. Two-thirds of the market happened to be on campus. And we started talking to campuses, and we realized that the campuses actually really want to service their students in the best fashion possible, but they don't have modern technologies. So about 2 years ago, we took the BookRenter technology and we wrapped it into a platform and we licensed it to the schools. So in fact, the Rafter Platform that has 297 institutions running on it is the exact same technology that BookRenter runs on. Mm-hmm. So think of BookRenter as a very large online campus servicing those students who do not go local to their campuses. Now, the reality is when you talk to students, they really want to be served locally. So the ideal experience for a student is not to go online. It's to show up to campus, get their books in the bookstore at the most reasonable price, and then go to class. They don't want to deal with the complexity of waiting for a package to arrive, and then if it's the wrong one, how do you return it? So the ideal solution is to power the campus. But still, there are lots of students who do not physically live on campus somewhere. So we do serve them on BookRenter. But our focus is really to empower the partners on campus to serve them well.
Mm-hmm. So I have to understand that BookRenter maybe is more for the individual student, whereas on Rafter you target the schools more or the individual faculties and which transmit this to their students then.
Yeah, the Rafter solution is it often comes to you under the brand of the school. So if you're at University of Texas, University of Washington, City College of San Francisco, you will see Rafter under the brand of the school. Now, if your school does not offer the Rafter solution, then as a student who's online, you can go to BookRenter and get the same price and service. But we prefer that you actually your institution services you locally. That's the most ideal experience for the end student.
And content-wise, how do we manage as often? I mean, there's a lot of talk at the moment around open educational resources, so OER. On the other hand, of course, many schools have strong alliances with publishers, or an individual professor prefers this or that book. So I imagine that rather difficult to manage to provide them with a rich variety, or can they customize their textbooks? What's it like on the platform?
Yeah, in fact, it's very complex. As you mentioned, across the U.S., we already have 11 million unique SKUs or items in our database of things that schools tend to adopt and use. And that continues to grow. And it goes beyond textbooks and goes beyond ebooks. It goes into course packs. It goes into devices and lab equipment and all sorts of things. So we are agnostic. We will support anything that the school needs. We do not advocate a type or a material. So we just show up and the school says, here's my adoption. Here are all the stuff that I need. And we do a lot of work to make sure that anyone who is a provider of those materials is on our platform. So we have a very rich back-end partners API. Mm-hmm. And if you are a provider of an educational content, you can sign up to our platform and we will have the campus buy from you. And we really don't exclude anyone from participating unless you don't service the campus. So the only reason you will get excluded from the Rafter platform is if you committed to selling or servicing the campus and for some reason you did not perform. Mm-hmm. And that on the physical side, it could be that you promised to ship an order and you didn't. On the digital side, it could be that you just never up. Your platform is just not robust. So if you are a provider of content to the institution, we will support you.
I see. So, and then either already on the institutional side, the copyright clearance, or it's clear on, or if there is something, do you take care of that to make sure that there is only copyright cleared material then on the Rafter platform available?
Yeah. So for now, we take on making sure that the material that we buy is legitimate content from publishers. We do have, you always have in any market certain bad characters who ship or do things that are not legit. So we do our best to sort of filter those players out. We also do use third-party technologies that we can't mention, but we do have partnerships either in place or partnerships in the works that helps us filter through sort of badly, sort of unproven or I can't get into the details of what it is, but there are lots of sort of bad practices that people deploy. We try to filter them as best as we can.
Excellent. So, and when we look at the numbers, I mean, you have had quite a success story, because I was able to read that over the past 3 years that Rafter saved students $100 million, but I mean, only within the last year it was another $100 million. So why does it accelerate at that pace like it is at the moment? Is the textbook space ready? Are the universities ready to look more into digital solutions using platforms like Rafter, or how does it come about?
Yeah, so overall, the process of adopting, buying and selling educational content is hugely inefficient. So that classically there has been a lot of waste in that process. And you could see it because every day a student shows up, buys the book, and the price ranges are so varying, right? You can find the same book on Amazon for $40 and in your campus for $200. So we're effectively just bringing a level of sophistication into supply management pricing that's taking a lot of that inefficiency out of the system. And it's a very large market. When you have a $10 billion market on an annual basis, and you can bring that level of efficiency, you take a lot of fat and waste out of the system. So a lot of that savings, which now is north of 220 million, I think, comes out of the fact that we save both on the acquisition side of the supply and the pricing to the students. Mm-hmm. A lot of the pricing saving is coming out of turning a purchase into a rental. So typically the students used to buy the book and then try to sell it back to the campus at the end of the season. That transaction was inefficient. We optimized that through a rental, and that saves the students a lot of money. And that's happening at a very rapid pace. So it's going incredibly fast. And so there's a lot of savings for the students in the system. We sort of project that savings in this market should go north of $1 billion in the next 5 to 6 years for students. So, which is very good news. If you look at the number one reason that students don't graduate from community colleges and four-year public institutions is cost. So the number one thing that's impacting student graduation is the inability for the student to stay in school and pay for the educational experience. And taking $1 billion out of that cost structure is a significant saving for the students.
Absolutely. So then, talking a little bit about the future, we could say that rental services have been, of course, maybe been the first stepping stone, and now we are evolving into this cloud-based technology solution. Do you think you, in your previous answer, you just said that reselling textbooks, used textbooks, then to the campus or the institution again is, of course, interesting still to students. On the other hand, do you see this a little bit diminishing the rental space? And I mean, as you evolved from the from Book Renter into Rafter, you apparently see more potential, or even more potential, in this cloud-based technology solution and platform. So what's the evolution of the textbook in your opinion?
Well, we think that it will follow the same sort of evolutionary path that has happened in other content businesses, such as music, such as movies, or publishing in newspapers and so on. It is slowly going online. As it goes online, it will take somewhere between 5 to probably 10 years. As it goes online, it is transforming both in terms of its packaging and its use. So we think that the market will continue to evolve, and the evolution seems to be, from where we sit today, is a combination of the institutions wanting more control over how they bundle content. A lot more sort of custom bundle, but mostly custom adoption of high value content from existing publishers and other players in the market, and also a lot of sort of new applications and technologies such as Rosetta Stone in language learning. So these are not really textbooks. These are a whole new sort of environment of learning that's being adopted by departments. But that tends to be very organic and tends to be very sort of centric to the professor you're talking to or the department you're talking to. It's not institutional wide. Every professor and department tends to have a different timeline in terms of adoption. So you have to be comfortable managing a mixed environment for years to come. So in fact, as a platform, the ability to handle physical, rental, new, used, digital, custom packs, you just have to get very good at a mixed environment. It's the same sort of evolution that people saw in computing in enterprise, right? So 20 years later, you still have mainframes and laptops and desktops and mobile devices. So it's not a homogeneous evolution. It's a very sort of a organic and slow evolution in a very large ecosystem, right? Education is the third largest spending in the U.S. is $1.2 trillion. So it's a market that will take its time, and it will evolve to a better place, I think, in the future, but it will take a while.
As you said, it's pretty scattered. You have different people with different interests or motivations, but certainly the K-12 public education is different from higher education or lifelong learning, language learning. So it's complex, yes. So for people in faculty interested in knowing more, well, we can of course direct them to directly on the website. I think is very well structured and provides lots of information. So that's of course rafter.com. Otherwise, how can people learn more about the solution you offer, or just the company in general? Where would you direct them?
So yeah, we have almost weekly web conferences where we talk about the product. But the best way to learn is to talk to your peers. So we now have over 297 partners in the market. These are very large, established institutions, and this is one of those markets where the best way to understand what works is to talk to someone in your sort of similar camp. If you're a public institution, another public institution. If you're a community college, another community college. Because as they deploy this solution, they're the best to tell you how it has worked, how they have deployed it, what are the best practices. So we're trying to really create that community effect among schools that says, this is how you deploy a solution like this and how you leverage it to service your students better. But there's a lot of sort of web conferences and YouTube videos on the application and customers talking about what they're doing with the platform.
Excellent. Mehdi, thank you so much for talking with me today, and that was very insightful, and I hope people got a good idea of what cloud-based actually means in the textbook space, and see in how the textbook actually evolves or is evolving at the moment. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Bye.